If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Welcome, family, to another episode of Something to Say. I'm your host, Stan B, and this episode is a very special one because I'm dedicating this one to my little baby girl, Paris. When I say baby girl, I'm talking about my granddaughter. For those who don't know, I am a grandfather and I take great pride in being one. And my granddaughter just turned 8, so I want to dedicate this one to her. All right? Come on, let's go. Well, welcome, family, to another episode of Something to Say. I'm your host, Stan B. And this episode, as you heard in the intro, will be about my granddaughter, Paris. Paris Amore Trap. I call her Pat. Her mama like to call her Patty. We got different names. Everybody got different names for her. Grandmother call her Noonie. I call her Noonie Face sometimes. All these different names. But they all describe one person, my granddaughter, who's 8 years old. So let me give you an understanding of our relationship and how all this came to be. Stan B, Papa. So let me give you, how everything went down. First off, you don't have to have blood going through your veins to have a bond and have a love for someone that's so unbreakable and unshakable that nothing can destroy that. So that's first off. Secondly, I'll just take you back to around that time of when she was born. Now, when she was around the time that she was born, I want to say maybe like a week prior to her being born, which she was born a week before Thanksgiving, November 18th. A week before that, I had a friend that I went to school with, I came up with, and those that may be listening may remember her. Some may know her, but her name is Makiba Ricks, which rest in peace, Makiba, and her infant son. But Makiba, I remember I was on my phone, and I'm attached to people on Facebook or what have you, and I see something that say rest in peace, Makiba. Now, the thing about Makiba is, like I said, I went to school with her, so I knew her. She was married, she had other kids, and she was also pregnant at the time. And where I stayed at in Denby, upper part of Newport News, northern part of Newport News, where I stayed at, I would go to this food line right up the street, and I would just usually go, grab something small, and I would bump into her at the store, and a trip that maybe was gonna take 5-10 minutes, end up taking 30-45 minutes because we're in the store and we just talking. Her kids, playing, running up and down the aisle where we talking at, and so I would see her like that, and she stayed maybe 5 minutes down the road from me. So we stayed close by each other and near this food line that we would bump into each other at. And so I see my phone one day, and I it say rest in peace, Makiba, and I'm like, rest in peace, Makiba. Like, what happened? What? So I'm tripping because, like I said, I'll just bump into her at the store, like randomly, you know what I mean? So I think I had just seen her maybe a couple of weeks prior, so I go on my phone, I see all this stuff about her, and I'm still trying to figure out what happened to her, And to this day, I still don't know exactly what happened, but she ended up dying, and she lost the baby as well. I don't know exactly how many months long she was, but I do know she lost her baby as well. So fast forward the 18th of November, um, what would that be? 2012. Yeah, so 2012, um, November 18th was her memorial. And from what I understood, it wasn't a funeral because she couldn't. They didn't really have the funds, I believe, to bury her at the time. I'm not sure. I believe that's what was going on. But anyway, I went to go to this memorial, and there was some people that I knew from school there as well. Um, which was, it's always sad when you go to something like that, and everybody knows the person that we're going to see, but then you see everybody else that you haven't seen in maybe years or what have you. So it's kind of bittersweet. You're glad you get to see these people, but sad that it's under the circumstances that it is. So anyway, I remember going. They had a way you can view her, and people had went up to go, view her and stuff. And at first, I was just like, man, I'm not gonna go up there. And then I said, man, I used to see her in the store. I know her from school, man. Like, just go pay your respects, man. And so when I went up there, it kind of took me back because I didn't expect to see what I seen. And to this day, 8 years later, that's something that I'll never ever forget. It's like something that's ingrained in my mind. Like, I could still see it as I'm telling the story right now. But I looked in the coffin, the casket, and I see her, and she's looking like Makeba, looking how she looked, beautiful woman. And then I see that there's something in her arm, and I immediately know what that is, and it's her baby boy, man. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I just did something to me. At this very same time that I'm here, or I'm saying here, like I'm right here, but the same time that that's going on and I'm right there at her memorial service, my granddaughter is being born. But I believe at the time I didn't know. Now, I knew her mom was in the hospital, um, having her. And so I didn't know she was born yet though. So I finally get the word that she was born, and by this time I'm headed back home. I walked up to the memorial, the funeral home to do the memorial, and now I'm walking back home. And I get to the house, and her father comes over, my granddaughter's father, Trap, and we sit down, and we just do what we do, roll up, talking, and he kind of confiding in me because this is his first child. His family history. He's not tight with his father like that. His father wasn't around the way he felt he should have been around, and so he's just afraid of not. He's afraid of repeating that mistake or not being around for his daughter or what. And I'm telling him, man, ain't no manual to none of this, man. You gonna be all right. You just gotta make sure you're there, make sure you're present, make sure you take care of your daughter. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So, it's nothing that I can only give you some of my experiences as a father, but I can't really tell you how to be a father. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to learn that. And if you there with your daughter, and be there for your daughter, that's you already doing better than your father. You know what I mean? So, but yeah. Anyway, he tells me she's born, and he said, you know, you want to go to the hospital. She was born, I believe in Mary Immaculate, and so I said, yeah, you know, let's go. So I remember going and getting in the room, and you know, other people was there, and you know, I go and sit down, and they say, you want to hold her? I said, yeah, you know, and I hold her, and I'm looking at her, and I'm just in awe, you know, because this was the first child, not even my own kids, you know, had I been around so much. I'm talking about, like, when I say that, I'm talking about in the womb. You know what I'm saying? Um, this was the only child that I had been around, like, damn near since, you know, after her being conceived and her mother knowing that she was pregnant with her, and you know what I'm saying. I've been around since then, you know, all the way up to when she was born. So it was times that her mother would sit on the couch, and um, her mom would sit on the couch, and her grandma would be, you know, talking that baby talk in her stomach, you know, to her in her stomach, whatever, you know, but stinky mush and that, and you know, and I would see her moving around. I'm like, oh my gosh, oh, she moving, you know. And then just to see this baby now, you know, I'm looking at her and she in my arms. I'm just like, wow, you know. And then, you know, it was just all bittersweet. You know, I will never forget that day because on one hand, I had a friend, you know, went to school with. She lost her life, and her baby lost his life, and now they, you know, going to be buried or what have you. So their lives are done. But then on the flip side of that death, you know, comes life, which is my granddaughter. And so that was something that I never forget, you know. And so from then, um, the relationship I developed with her, man, I can't begin to describe um, just how she made me feel, you know. Like, you know, I remember her coming up as a little toddler, and you know, all I would do is just play with her. That's, you know, that's what I do, play with her and chase her, and um, run around and do things with her. You know what I'm saying? Just making her laugh. That was my biggest thing. I just love to make her laugh, and um, play around with her and see her smile, and you know, hate to see her cry. You know, and so I just grew this bond with her by being around her, by seeing her, to a point where eventually at some point, you know, me and her um, grandmother went our separate ways, and I was um, in another city, and I would come by and see her, you know, because I, you know, miss my baby. I want to come by, see her, and check her out. So I would come by and see her, and it would break my heart when I came by and see her because she when she seen me, she'd be so happy to see me, Papa, you know, give me a hug and playing with her, and she showing me stuff, and you know, and then when it was time for me to go, um, it was times where I had to hide or I had to do little, you know, do little slick stuff and leave, and you know, I'm a man, and you know, I'm not big on doing a whole bunch of, you know, shedding tears and all that kind of stuff. But I will tell you, when it comes to this child here, my baby, you know, the closest thing to a daughter that I have, um, she did that to me. You know what I'm saying? When I had to leave, it broke my heart that I had to leave like that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the type of bond that we grew to have, you know. And so It went from I was seeing her